In this video, I'll be talking about how our parents become our first mirrors, right? In my previous video, I talked about how our egos are given to us, right? Our name is given to us, um, our nationality is given to us, our way of life, how we live in this world is given to us, how our cultures are given to us after we are born, right? So in this case, the mirror in this case is our external world being reflected back to us, right? Our external world reflecting what we hold inside of us, right? And so, what do I mean by that? Your parents are that first mirror that you witness, right? Your parents are the first reflection of what you hold inside of you currently, right? And this starts before you're even born, when you're inside the womb of your mother, right? Inside the womb of your mother, you are nurtured by her, right? You're nurtured by her. You're absorbing all of her energy um through her, right? Not only that, you're developing physical attributes that you take on from your both parents, from your mother and your father, right? Both physical attributes, which is still an energetic component, but only on the physical, right? So think about the internal attributes, the internal energetic attributes that you absorb after you're born. The internal energetic attributes that you absorb from your mother and your father. The whatever your mother experienced through her life, you absorb that, right? You go through that. You absorb all that energy. Whatever whatever your father went through during his lifetime, you absorb that energy within you. Whatever they were not able to resolve in their life, you absorb that within you, right? You become what they are, not only by the physical attributes, but the internal attributes as well. You absorb their internal energetic attributes, right? You you get they reflect that back to you, right? And you become that. You become the the mixture of both your mother and your father, right? Or whoever your caregiver is, right? You become that, right? Or that's what you believe. So what happens is that, like I said, you absorb all the traumas they gone through that they were not able to resolve. You absorb their way of showing love to you, right? You learn the ways of how they show love to you. You learn those ways and you took it upon yourself. You learn how to be safe with them, right? Actually, you considered these two people to be safe because they were the first ones to welcome you to this world, to this earth, right? And regardless of how they treated you, you regardless of how they treated you, you consider them to be your safety. Regardless of how they loved you, by their understanding of love, you consider that to be what love is, right? The way they act, the way they react, the way they respond, the way they respond to their emotions, the way they deal with their emotions, the way they deal with life. You took on that. You took that on. You absorbed that energy, right? Because that was the first reflection. That was the first mirror that you witnessed. When they feel joy, you felt joy. When they felt sad, you felt sad. When they felt angry, you felt angry. No, and I'm not gonna get into if you understood those emotions or not, but whether you understood it or not, unconsciously or subconsciously, um you absorb those emotions. So again, like whatever they were unable to resolve, it it was transferred to you, right? You absorb that energy because none of most of us weren't taught how to transmute these energies at that age, at an early age, or even now. Most of us were not. Most of us aren't taught how to transmute these energies. Most of us aren't even taught to recognize these energies, right? So what happens is that because you cannot recognize these energies, you cannot, and you still don't understand how to transmute these energies. You resent your parents, you resent your mother, and you start to resent your mother and your father for how they live their lives, how they respond to life, how they react to life. You resent parts of them that are within you, right? Because unconsciously you know that you took on these burdens, right? Unconsciously you consider these burdens that you took on, but somehow you end up blaming your mother and your father for reflecting that back to you, right? All their fears, right? All their traumas that they weren't able to resolve, they reflected that back to you, and you resent them for that, right? But in the grand scheme of things, when we understand that we choose, our soul chooses our parents for a reason, our soul chooses our mother, our soul chooses our father for a bigger purpose, right? To learn to transmute their unresolved traumas, their unresolved um negative energies that they weren't able to transmute, right? When we understand that our soul chose this path, chose these two people to be our first mirror, you start to look at your parents in a different way. That resentment starts to fall away. That anger towards them starts to fall away. And what slowly replaces that resentment, that anger, is acceptance, right? Is acceptance. Because you start to realize that you did absorb whatever they were holding within them. And absorbing those energies was a choice. Again, it was a choice, right? On the grand scheme of things, your soul wanted that path. And you start to realize that there is a purpose to it. You start to realize there is a purpose to it. And when you realize there's a purpose to it, you start to appreciate your parents in a different level. Again, you start to accept them as who they are on a different level. And when we can accept our parents, our mother, and our father on a certain level, we can accept anybody. You start to learn to accept anybody that you come across in this world, right? Because then you start to realize your parents are just people. They're just souls on this earth. They're just souls in this world that are all learning to evolve, all learning to become more aware of who they truly are, right? So it becomes easier for you to understand how to transmute the reflective energies that have been reflected towards you. It becomes easier for you to accept your external world. It becomes easier for you to understand that the external world is just a reflection of what is inside me. Because now I understand that I absorb these energies. And now that I learned that I have absorbed these energies, these fears, these traumas, I can transmute it, change it in a way that benefits me, in a way that I would like to manifest my life the way I want it to. Again, it's just like what I explained in my video about how we inherit our egos. Once you understand that you are not your name, you're not truly your name, you're not truly your culture, you're not truly you're not truly the habits that you took on, that the world taught you to take on, right? You you now have this feeling that you can mold all of this into the life you truly want to live, right? It's just the same. When you can understand that you are just a reflection of your parents. Your parents are a reflection of you. You're a reflection of each other. When you understand that, when you understand it's just a reflection, right? It's like when you're looking in the mirror, you you start to realize I have the power to change this reflection, to manifest what I see in the mirror, to manifest what I see in the external world. Thank you for making through this video.